Hi, it's Catherine Franke from Columbia Law School. Something has shifted in the last week, I would say. We learned on Monday of a lawyer from Dearborn, Michigan, who was returning from spring break with his family in the Dominican Republic, was detained at the airport by Border Patrol, wanting to go through his phone. And the reason it seems that they wanted to go through his phone was because of his representation of a student at the University of Michigan who had been involved in protests, and he had defended that student. So the shift here that I think is really important to pay attention to is the degree to which lawyers working on behalf of people who have engaged in conduct that is making its way onto the radar of the federal government are themselves now the target of the federal government's both surveillance and punitive measures. We've seen law firms, of course, threatened in various ways, some of them forcing themselves to then negotiate deals with the federal government. But why I think this is different is that this administration sees the legal profession, lawyers, law schools, law firms, and judges as interrupting the mechanisms by which the fundamental pillars of democracy are being dismantled. Now, I thought, was there a time in the past when this might have been the case? I think of the 1850 fugitive slave law, that Section 7 of that law basically could have been used to prosecute lawyers who defended Black people who were accused of being fugitives from enslavement with obstructing their rightful return to their owners. And those lawyers, as we know from history, and I would recommend reading the work of Daniel Farbman, who's a historian at Boston College, some of those lawyers were harassed by private parties for their defense of the idea of freedom of Black people, but none of them were actually prosecuted under the Fugitive Slave Act, although they probably could have been. Same in the 1950s with the McCarthy era. People like Arthur Kanoy stood up for the defense of people who were blacklisted and otherwise called to testify before the McCarthy hearings. They were certainly attacked privately. Arthur Kanoy was dragged out of the hearing room. But they weren't prosecuted in the same way as the people that they were defending. What we're seeing now, and I, have personal experience with this, having been prosecuted by Columbia University for my defense of student protesters, we're seeing the legal profession itself as the seemingly rightful object of state governance and state punishment for doing what we are trained to do, which is to give everyone a defense and to defend the rule of law itself. So the legal profession is now on the line as much as the idea of the First Amendment. And this is a shift. And this administration's persecution, if I could say, of the legal profession is something new in this country. And it's because they realize that this power resides with lawyers and that during their first term, Trump's first term, lawyers did a not perfect but somewhat meaningful job in slowing down, if not stopping, some of the most egregious things that the administration wanted to do. They're not going to put up with that this time. So as a legal educator and a lawyer myself, it's something that concerns me greatly, and I think it should concern you too. Now, as I watch this happening and accelerating, the ways in which the legal profession is now in the crosshairs as much as the clients that we represent, I think about my colleagues at Columbia Law School, the dean at Columbia Law School, the deans and colleagues at other law schools, bar associations. What are you waiting for? This is the time to stand up. Our skin is in the game too now. And as much as we enjoy enormous privileges as lawyers, we also have responsibilities to stand up and object to the ways in which our profession is now implicated in, through our acquiescence, in the dismantlement of democracy itself.